Johannes Lochner und
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Lake Placid, New York for the final time in the IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships fortnight. Saturday morning, bright and early, and it's looking like a beautiful day in prospect. The final two heats of the four-man competition this morning, and this afternoon we will round out our women's bobsleigh. Well, the first heat saw our hero Francesco Friedrich set off first. Place after the first run is Brad Hall from Great Britain. Aaron Gulliver, Taylor Lawrence, Greg Cackett giving him a fourth fastest start. He drove himself down into third place, splitting the German domination of the podium. Ahead of him, Johannes Lochner. Lochner with Florian Bauer, Jürgen Wenzel and Georg Fleischhauer on the sled. Second fastest start, just 200s behind Francesco Friedrich in the getaway, but he came down at 2900s behind. Not the tidiest run from Hansi, who's still having problems with 2, 3 and 4. And Friedrich looking for his 7th four-man World Championships. Matthias Sommer, Alexander Schuller and Felix Straub helping him with the fastest start in the competition, just 400ths off the 20-year-old start record. And Friedrich drove cleanly and quickly into a commanding lead. So the second heat was cancelled because of track conditions, and that means that we go into heat 3. Now that will see the fastest slider again going off first and the slowest sliders going off last. So at the moment, Francesco Friedrich with a third of a second over Hansi Lochner, Brad Hall. They're 200s apart. Adam Ammour in fourth, but Frank Del Duca and Chris Horn of the USA challenging, so too Kim Jin Su of Korea. Lots of tight battles. Look, a three-way tie for 12th behind two other sleds that are only 2 and 400s in front of them. Jakob Mandelbauer didn't start Heat 1 because of illness, and the Australians who crashed in Heat 1 and the scratched Heat 2 will not go today either. So yesterday morning air temperature was -5. It is now +8. It is going to be a hot day today, so that's why we're racing Friday and Saturday rather than Saturday and Sunday, because Sunday is expected to be even more spring and even less winter-like. Well, that's what happens, I'm afraid, when you are sliding still into March, and I know a lot of skiers will probably relate to that. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, is it night time already? Martin Haven, and alongside me, Cyrus Gray. And Cyrus, second and final day of competition, and everybody will be coming to the line, trying to move up in the order. Wherever you are, Francesco Friedrich will try and extend his advantage. Everybody else has got a target in front of them, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And especially after yesterday, everybody's trying to come in and do better than they did yesterday.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, to start us off here, we've got the greatest bobsledder to ever do it. So.
Yep, 9 two-man World Championship wins, the line to them last week, and 6 in four-man. Francesco Friedrich, Matthias Sommer, Alexander Schuller and Felix Straub get us back underway here in Lake Placid. 494 first heat, 494 for the start the first time this morning. Now relatively tidy out of 2 into 3, little square tap heading down to corner 4 and then through Whiteface and into the Devil's Highway, and this is where it'll be made or broken.
Oh, for sure. You carry a lot of speed out of 4 and yeah, trying to get a clean Devil's Highway. Yeah, so far looking good.
Already over 70 miles an hour and still accelerating quickly.
Yeah, it pays to be first off too, especially with the warm conditions, right? Because the track deteriorates after so many sleds.
Speed already over 82 miles an hour. Francesco Friedrich looking smooth again this morning. And across the line, 54.78, and that is comparative to 54.23 at the same time yesterday. So about half a second slower, 55 slower. So we're not going to get a track record. And again, 400ths off the start record. That might be in danger.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, the back runner will come off of 3 there a little bit, but he's managed to square it up into 4. Yeah, just kind of dropped out of 4 there. Out of 7, sorry. Yeah, the 8-9 transition again. We're going to see a lot of that.
It's so hard. The bobsleds are longer than the transition in the corner almost, aren't they? So you're coming off 8 with the nose and going on to 9, and the tail's still in 8.
Yeah, even if you do it as nice as you can, it's still going to be a rough one.
Well, lots of fans here this morning for the final day of action. Second up, Johannes Lochner, Florian Bauer, Jörn Wenzel, Georg Fleischhauer, and Hansi 2900s behind. This must be an absolutely brilliant run, or any chance of a second four-man world championships will be gone. You can't rely on Friedrich crashing in the final heat. In and down 5:02. They were 4:96 yesterday, so that's nearly a tenth slower. So as he sits down, he's nearly 30. Well, he's 3700s back.
Yeah, now the cleanest line going into 4, but I'm sure he's going to get it back.
3700s to 5500s back. It's a little tidier than he was yesterday in the cancelled second heat. Now, if he can't take gold, obviously he's going to try as hard as he can to hang on to the silver. Oh, huge skid in the chicane, though.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
6/10 back. He had stopped the bleeding.
Yeah, the drift through the chicane definitely took a lot of time away from him.
Right, how does he get sideways in the chicane and still close the margin on Francesco Friedrich from the second best speed? That's ridiculous. 55.03. All right. So yesterday came down 54.5, today 55.0, so that's 5100 slower than his first heat. So actually he was closer to his first heat time than Friedrich, but that drift...
Yeah, that drift definitely cost him a lot of time, but
yeah,
I see him trying to straighten it out. Sometimes the more you do, the more damage you cause. But
yeah, that little runner shimmy, try to straighten out. I'm never quite sure how shimmying the front runners brings the back into line, but it's a thing. Next up, there's friends and family for Brad Hall, for Aaron Gulliver, Taylor Lawrence and Greg Cackett. 3100s back, but only 200s behind Johannes Lochner. If this is a clean one, and his second run yesterday was an absolute stormer from Brad Hall, they could really move up into the silver medal position. 5:02 matches Lochner's start, so still 200s in it.
yeah, that's a faster, 100 faster than yesterday as well, so.
And they know they need to be super clean here to take second place away from Hansi Lochner. They're second on the splits at the moment. Second best speed. On the bottom right, you can see they're in the red on the clock, but their position currently on the split times is position 2.
Yeah, this is a nice run from Brad. Just capitalizing on from yesterday.
That's what he needed. Best speed out of the chicane. This Hans Wallner built sled is really flying down at the bottom. 5800s back. Oh, this is going to be very close with Lochner. 200s back still. The downtime is exactly identical to Lochner's. The start was 5:02 for both. The downtime 55:03 for both. So Brad came straight through the chicane with higher speed and yet didn't gain on Lochner to the line. Not quite sure how that happens, but
I'm sure that would be a tough one for Brad to see, but that was a pretty clean run either way.
Well, look, you're never going to win a medal easily in this sport. That's a good effort at the start from the boys. Nice load and a good drive.
Yeah, they know how to stay nice and low too in the back there. Yeah, the 8-9 transition is real smooth. Well done, Brad.
Moving on to Adam Ammour for Germany, with Nick Stadelmann, his older brother Issam Ammour, and Rupert Schenk on the sled. Started 5:08 yesterday and came down 6400s back, so a third of a second behind the battle for silver.
Nice 5:03 start. Yeah, even though he's new to this track, he's been driving pretty well.
Yep. And they're trying to make sure that they fight their way into the medals. They'd love to finish on the podium here. The Germans had top 3 in the 2-man. Ammour was the bronze medalist last year in World Championships in Winterberg. 4th on the splits. Gaps growing though, out to 9/10 back. Good chicane. Still only the 4th best speed. So he's limited the damage because he's closed, or he's cleaned the chicane. 9700s at the line. Benedict Hertel there, the tall figure with the beard. His 2-man brakeman. 55.11, so they slip a further 800s back. Got a lot to do in the 4th and final heat. 4100s out of the medals. They won't give up trying, but it is going to be a massive ask. It's going to need a little bit of divine intervention, perhaps.
Yeah, nice and clean through the chicane. Nobody's bouncing around.
Yeah, that's always a good sign, isn't it, when you don't see lots of heads and shoulders being bumped up in the air.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is a bit of a battering run for drivers and brakemen. So now then, Frank Del Duca for the USA with Josh Williamson, Boone Niederhofer and Chuck Volker. Niederhofer and Volker making their World Championship debut. Josh Williamson was in the 2-man. 5:04 start yesterday. 600s behind Adam Ammour. Chance to move up. 5:02, they outstart their German rivals.
Yeah, no, Josh has been going through some injury problems, but it's nice to see him back on the #1 sled. And this guy loves sliding, so anything he gets to slide, he's...
Big skid from 3 to 4 for Frank Del Duca. Second best speed. US sleds, he and Chris Horn were absolutely flying yesterday. Still 4th best speed despite that skid. And another drift. Good run through the chicane, but over a second back. He's going to have to be absolutely stunning through the heart to close down Adam Ammour. He's not going to get to the German sled. No, he's over a 10th back, 1100s behind Ammour. Well, the fastest sleds in the field get the best ice conditions in Heat 3, and that often sees the field stretch out. And because Heat 2 was cancelled, where they go in reverse order, that sort of tightening up effect hasn't happened.
Yeah, you can already see a lot of marks on the ice for it being so soft. Yeah, that's a little drift into 4, but managed to get it back. Yeah, going into 13, kind of that reset corner 13, but...
Good run through the chicane, keeping the speed up. Next up, Chris Horn in a dead heat for 6th position with Jin Su of Korea. And 1500s behind Frank Del Duca after the first heat. Carsten Vissering, Martin Christoffersen and Hunter Powell on the sled. Chris Horn, no slouch on that driver's push bar. He was the push world champion in 2-man and 4-man a couple of years ago. 5:05, just 100th off their first start.
Yeah, Chris Horn's been driving real well in the 2-man and the 4-man. So it'd be nice to see what he can do here.
Yeah, he was absolutely flying in the 2-man. Second best speed. His target will be to try and move up, of course. That can only be at the expense of his own teammate, Frank Del Duca.
Yeah, that 11-12 transition was a little bit... Oh.
Thinking that the US teams have gone, okay, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Let's just go for whatever maximum edgy setup we can get.
Just let it fly.
Exactly. And if we can handle it, we can. And if we can't, then we haven't lost a medal because we're not in the medals yet. So 55.34. Also We've had 6 sleds down now. Each one has got progressively slower than the ones in front. And as you send the leader first, with the best ice, you expect that to happen a little. But it's not guaranteed all the way down. Consistency is so hard in this sport. Consistency is so hard on this track as well. So it was 1500s behind Frank after one heat, and another 1500s plus back in their second heat as well, or heat 3.
Yeah, it's a little bit stressful when you're trying to get it straightened out through the chicane and the chicane's ending.
Yeah. You know, that's the one thing in this sport, you always run out of ice before you get it sorted. Jin Su, Kim Sun-wook, Kim Hyung-gyun and Lee Hyun-yu for Korea. And Jin Su, in his first full season as a driver on the World Cup stage, has been mighty impressive. Great starting, great driving, 5:05 getaway, so they matched Chris Horn. And don't forget, they were tied to the 100th at the end of the first heat.
Yeah, these guys are great pushers. Always exciting to watch them.
7th speed, 7th on the splits. He's got some nice lines as well.
Yeah, this is a nice looking bottom for sure. Oh yeah, nice and straight through the chicane.
Yeah, you can see he's sitting up quite high. Still fairly familiar with the track from learning over here in North America. He's going to come across the line behind Horn by 33 hundredths. So Chris Horn came down 55.34, 55.67 for Jin Su. So they were dead tied after the first heat. Jin Su losing ground there.
Yeah, just gonna straighten it out after one there, but
yeah,
and it just slid off. Oh, I just lost a little bit of drift off of 12, but managed to get it in line in the chicane.
Yeah, the brakes bouncing down. That's not the brakeman pulling on the brakes, but the brake just bouncing up and down in the sled with the vibrations on the track. So they need to look at the bungees to hold it out of the way, because if your sled drags, if its brakes on the ice, you will be excluded. Next up then, 8th place for Mickey Vokes, with Greg Jones, Dominic Huschmidt and Amadou David Ndiaye behind him. And these guys just 400ths off the tie between Chris Horn and Jin Su. So a chance here to move up. They start 5:19, so actually they lose 14 more hundreds, so they're now 18 hundredths back to the sled they're chasing, Chris Horn.
Yeah, but Michael Bolt knows how to drive, so hopefully he can make up some time for that. He's already dropped back a spot or two, but
7th best speed, 8th fastest start, 8th on the splits at the moment. Needs a little bit more speed out of the sled. These Swiss sleds are always good at high speed. Their aerodynamics are excellent. 4th best speed through the chicane. Can he pick off Jin Su of Korea? He's not going to get to Chris Horn, but he should be ahead of Kim. Up to 7th at the line, 55.43 run. So loses a further 9 hundredths to Chris Horn. Coach and brakeman conferring. All right, so Mickey Vogt moves up 1. And they're just at the top of a tight little group, because only 700s behind him is the next sled. Nice efficient load.
oh, just a little bit of a drift, but
Yeah, had pretty decent speed through the chicane. So Patrick Baumgartner of Italy, just, what was he, 700s behind Mickey Vogt. Eric Fantazzini, Robert Messia and Lorenzo Bellotti are the crew. And his target will be to try and take advantage of that loose run from Jin Su. He was only 1100s behind Kim and Chris Horn after the first heat. Plenty of yelling from the coaches at the line.
Yeah, they ran that one a little bit deep.
5:09, they got a result out of it though. Let's see what the velocity is like. Yeah, 5th best velocity of the 8th fastest start time. So they really put some speed into the sled for Baumgartner.
Yeah, his training runs have been very fast too, but that was different conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, conditions have changed quite a lot over the last 2 weeks. 7th best speed.
That's a nice 11-12.
How close is he going to be to Jin Su? He's dropped from 8th spot, which was ahead of Kim, to behind him on the split time, so he needs to be very clean through the last couple of corners. Uphill now, through 19 and 20, across the line, doesn't get there, 55.66. So Kim lost 1 spot only. And Baumgartner remains, for the moment, in 9th place. He actually closed just 100th on Jin Su on that run.
Just all the heads.
Yeah.
All the power coming through.
And they all drop in together.
Nice.
Now, quite often you see crews go 4-3-2, but those guys, oof, all together as one. Yeah.
Well, that's the goal, right? You want everybody to sit down together, then that keeps the velocity, keep the velocity high, right?
Okay, so in the top 10, Matej Baumgartner, and so too is Jekabs Kalenda of Latvia. So the Latvian with a strong crew behind him. Arnis Bebris, the veteran Mats Miknis, and Maris Klaver. Kalenda crashed out of the 4-man worlds in St. Moritz in 2023 and in the 4-man worlds in Winterberg in 2024. So he's at least got day 1 out of the way. 5:11 first start, 5:12 first start this morning.
Yeah, a little low out of 3, but that set him up. That still set him up nice for 4. See if he can carry some speed into the Devil's Highway.
9th fastest start, but only the 10th best velocity. Oh, and wow.
Yeah, his 7-8 transition wasn't too good. He came up a little early up 7, but let's see what he can do in the bottom half here.
And all of that heavy load behind the driver, rocking the sled sideways. That's energy coming out of the sled that will no longer be accelerating down the track.
Yeah, that's a lot of big guys.
Yes, it is. 400 kilos of meat in that sled. 56.12. All right, first not to be in the 54s or 55s. And Kalenda came down 56.25 in the first heat. 55.25 yesterday in the first heat. So losing more ground than many, and that might leave him vulnerable because behind him the next sled was 200s back. Oh, look, got nudged away there.
But he managed to get it on and get the nose down. So tough going into 9, but managed to catch it.
Nearly rolled into 9. We've seen that a couple of times, and again nearly rolled off it. Yeah, the brakemen were just clinging on for dear life at that stage. So Jekabs Kalenda, sketchy run. He's in 10th place. So Kalenda was 200s ahead of Teimo Rona, and 200s behind Rona is a 3-way tie. So Kalenda was the first of 5 sleds covered by just 400s. That loose run is probably going to see him drop down to somewhere around 14th place. Let's see what Teimo Rona's got. Started 5:20 first heat yesterday, 5:19. So loses 700s to Kalenda. But if he can drive cleanly, he should gain it. Look, nicely out of 2. Smooth out of 3.
Yeah, your top really sets you up for a nice speed in the Devil's Highway, which is what you want.
Second best speed for Teimo Rona, and immediately ahead of Kalenda. Now, how close does he get to Matej Baumgartner? It was a bit of a margin to Baumgartner, but not a huge one.
That is a nice looking run from Teimo so far.
Still, great speed from Teimo Rona. Does he get 9th place at the line? How close is he going to be? Very close, I think. Rona or Baumgartner, 9th place. That's the 8th fastest run. He does move up too. He's ahead of Baumgartner and picked off Kalenda. That's a good start to the day for Teimo Rona. Anytime, Cyrus, where you pick up 2 spots, you're feeling very pleased with yourself.
Oh, yes, for sure. And that run showed him, right? He drove very well. Got in nice and tight. Kept everything clean on top, because you can lose a lot of time from 1 to 2. So
yeah, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. If you're not clean there, then you're looking for an off ramp somewhere. Clean chicane as well. Tiniest of taps. Good stuff. Now then, that shows what's possible for Taylor Austin of Canada and Sun Kai-chi of China, because they had the same deficit as Teimo Rona in the first heat. So Taylor's got Mike Evelyn, Keaton Brugling and Shaq Murray-Lawrence on the sled.
yeah, no, these boys are really excited to push together. So see what start time they can get here.
5:11 getaway, so they've picked up 800s already on Teimo Rona and broken that tie in their favour. And if Rona, ooh, skid from 2 to 3, 1 to 2.
Yeah, Taylor knows this track very well, so let's see if he can find some time in the track, pick up a couple spots.
Well, look at his speed. Rona was 2nd quickest there. Taylor Austin 12th quickest. He is the 12th sled down. He's not going to stay with Teimo Rona, but does he pick up a spot from Jekabs Kalenda? Has a decent chicane. Speed's coming up. He's 11th ahead of Kalenda. Will he be 10th at the line ahead of Baumgartner? This is going to be super tight. Might be another heat, a dead heat, no. 9th at the line, so he doesn't quite get to Baumgartner. He's 800s behind him with 1 run to go.
Yeah, Taylor's the kind of guy who always wants to be great, so I'm sure he wouldn't be happy with that run, but he's got another one to try and make up some time.
Well, he picked off Jekabs Kalenda, so that's a start, but not quite in the top 10 yet. And the top 10 finish in the world sounds better than the top 11, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It sounds very nice. Yeah, the 7, 8 wasn't great, but got it back on track in 9.
One more.
One more.
Indeed. All right, so Sun Kai-chi, the 3rd of these sleds that was in that dead heat for 12th place. Ding Song, Ye Ji-long and Chen Heng. Ye and Chen, they're 2 go-to 2-man brakemen. They're on Sun's sled to give him the best start. He was the better of the 2 Chinese sliders yesterday as well, drove nicely. All right, 5:10 in the first heat. Coming out just a few minutes later in the morning than they did yesterday when they were 9th off.
Yeah, a little late into 4, but nice 4-5.
But already look on the velocity, he's up to, on the splits, he's up to 9th on the splits. So ahead of Kalenda, Austin, Baumgartner and Rona. Slips behind Rona. 10th on the splits, but that was a good top pass of the track from Sun.
Yeah, you just got to hold the bottom together here now and try and keep that spot.
Good chicane is going to help, but he slipped out to 11th place. So ahead of Taylor Austin in Jekabs Kalenda, was tied with Austin. How close is this going to be at the line? 12th place. So behind Taylor Austin by 0.05 of a second. Came down 500 slower, and they were tied after the first heat.
Yeah, just catching a little too early into 11, but yeah, I see the front runner come up when he hits the wall.
Yes. Well, that chicane, you drop down underneath the outrun of the track and come back up. So the exit of the chicane, you're coming uphill. If you touch the wall, you do you lose a lot of time. You lose a lot and you aviate a bit as well. Cedric Follador next for Switzerland with Nicola Mariani, Omar Fergula and Quentin Gillard. They were in, they had the 12th best start. They too were tied for 12th place. Taylor Austin and with Sun Kai-chi. 5:15 getaway. They started 5:16 yesterday morning.
That is a nice exit too. Took a tap a little bit lower, but comes out just fine.
So many really quick transitions on and off corners in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Devil Highway as a driver, you feel it a lot off the side of the head.
So busy. 13th at the start, 14th on the splits now. Up ahead of Jekabs Kalenda. Kalenda in free fall, the Latvian, after a really disappointing run. So Follador may no longer be tied for 12th. Unless he ties Sun Kai-chi, no, 13th at the line, 55.94. It's actually a couple of tenths slower than Sun. So
you can see the conditions are changing. The outrun is looking pretty slow.
Yeah.
Brakeman barely have to touch the brakes. Yeah, it just kind of drops out of 3. Then took that real low tap. Kind of want to take that tap a little bit higher up, but a 7-8 transition. Sometimes it's real sketchy when your bunks touch the ice.
yeah, well, I drove it through the chicane. Jury just checking the runners to make sure that nobody's coming through the ice down onto the wall of the track. Next up for Brazil, Edson Bindilatti with Edson Martins, his regular two-man brakeman, Rafael Souza da Silva and Eric Gilson Viana Geronimo. And these guys lying in 15th place after Heat 1. Edson Bindilatti, we documented yesterday, 45 in the two-man race, 46 in the four-man. He will be nearly 47 in the Winter Games in Cortina next year. And an inspiration to younger athletes at how long you can survive in this sport if you are lucky enough to remain healthy.
I was going to say, what would that be, his 7th Olympic Games?
5th, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He hasn't done all of them, but actually it's only his 2nd World Championships outing as well. His debut was in Innsbruck in 2016.
Yeah, he's driving pretty well right now.
Up to 13th on the splits. He had a really good day yesterday, 12th best speed. Now can he hold this together? He's slipped a little bit of time, but still could pick up 2 places here from 15th to 13th at the line. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Edson Bindilatti, he knows this track well. The Brazilians, naturally, because they're from South America, spend a lot of time sliding in North America, although Europe's probably almost as close when you're starting in Brazil.
Yeah.
But still, they know this track well.
Yeah, just a little drift, lost a little bit of time, but
yeah,
other than that, it was a pretty clean run.
Still picked up 2 spots. Look at the focus. Look at the wide eyes. They're like dinner plates.
Yeah, scrunching his nose because he knows he's a little bit sideways.
Yeah. Edson, my man, he was in such good form this morning when I was up at the start. Really looking forward to it. And there's the result, up 2. And Jekabs Kalenda now down in 15th place, having started the run in 10th, and maybe still not free from attack. Because Pat Norton of Canada knows this track inside out. Mark Zanet, Johannes Parkinson, and Chris Ashley on the sled. Let's see what they can do. They started 5:25 yesterday, a whisker quicker today.
No, it's not faster, but I know they wanted to push a little bit faster today and kind of try and give Pat everything they have.
Yeah.
Because he only got 2 more runs to go, so.
It's the Worlds, leave nothing on the table.
That's right. It's a clean looking run from Pat so far. A low exit out of 10, but seems to get it back on track.
Still 16th on the splits. Not a bad chicane and decent speed as well. Now, is he going to get to Jekabs Kalenda as well? This could be right to the 100th at the line. Not quite, 55.93. So he's the first not to get ahead of the Latvian. in the last half dozen sleds. So Kalenda has dropped from 10th to at least 15th at the moment. And Pat Norton, how far behind him was he? 7/100ths of a second.
Yeah, just kind of low exit out of 10. That kind of pushes you, takes the tap out on the left wall there. Yeah, he took the tap, but he got to take that last tap to kind of set him right into the 17.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we were going super late.
He could have done without that skid as well. That's each one of those is probably worth the 700s that he was behind. That's how close this sport is.
But overall, still a great run for Pat.
Yep. Now then, next up is Romania's Mihai Tentea, 1.51 back, so quite a gap to Pat Norton, who was 1.28 back. 23/100ths of a second, the difference. That's going to be a big margin for Tentea to make up. They had a decent start, the crew, yesterday. 5.20, 15th fastest starters. Same again, 5:20. And unusually for Mihai, he didn't outdrive his start. Normally, if he starts 15th, 16th, 17th, he'll be 2 or 3 places higher up at the finish line.
Yeah, this is a decent looking run for Mihai for sure.
Although he's still a young driver, just 26, he's got years of experience driving sleds. Started very young, 12th best speed.
Yeah, just kind of fell out of 12, but back online, see what he can do through the chicane. A couple taps, but
yeah, still top 12 speed. Is he gonna pick up a spot from Pat Norton? It's quite a long reach. If he can close right up on the Canadian, he might have a chance. 14th best run, 55.86. So if that had been his first heat, instead of being 17th, he would have been in 14th place, which is probably what you expect when he's starting 16th.
yeah, just kind of fell out of the corner there a little bit. Seven, 8 little rocking bodies, but a little wide of 9, but all is good.
Well, he closed 700s on Pat Norton. That's Mihai Pacianu, one of the brake crew. And Li Chunjian now for China. Jiang Miaoyan in at 2, Shi Yelong at 3, and An Tai at 4, their new young brakeman this season. And still looks like he should be in secondary school.
Had a little stumble there on the start, but
again, they started 5:20. Whoa! And yeah, Jiang almost over-rotated clear out the far side of the sled. Well, it was 5:16, again leaving nothing on the table. But their velocity wasn't as good. Oh! It was nearly a disaster at the start. It was a disaster instead at the top of the Devil's Highway. And that is going to be a long, very uncomfortable ride down. And Cyrus, you know, from your position, the brake will be pulling themselves against gravity uphill into the sled to try and stay off the ice.
oh, for sure, you're trying to stay off the ice, trying to keep your head from hitting any short walls.
Yeah.
And obviously trying to stay in the sled, because that's the safest place for you.
Definitely.
And then the chances that you do cross the finish line and get to go again, but it doesn't look like they're going to quite make it to the finish line.
It's going to be like when the Aussies crashed in the second heat. They're not going to get there.
Trying to get out, but
trying to get out to stop the sled. Track workers haven't got there. And trying to grip the bars and grip the sled at the same time. That's An Tai, the brakeman. Now the sled is going to go down and come back up, but this is where it all went wrong.
Yeah, just out of 4. Yeah, real high in 5, but
yeah,
that took that nose dive. Yeah, exited 6, exited way too early. Just kind of rolled in there.
Yeah. Oh, and it almost came back up, and then it was gone. That's a very uncomfortable, a long trip down as well.
Yeah, I think that rolled into 6 for...
Yeah. So we'll have a standard 5-minute track hold, and possibly a little more, depending on what has been done to the ice by the sled. Some early settlers down there, so yeah, good morning. It's a tricorn hat. There should be more tricorn hat and more cowbell, I think, at bobsled races. And a periwig as well, very nice, very nice. And they've got their bald eagle onesies on. So good to see lots of fans out here. There was quite a few out yesterday, considering Friday is a work day, but today, of course, the weekend. The weekend starts here.
Oh, there's the wig you're talking about.
There you go, yeah. Nicely powdered, sir. Well done indeed. So friends and family, obviously everybody, all the other athletes are well aware what happens during a crash. They always say, Cyrus, you're not a real bobsledder until you've crashed. Until you've crashed and gone again, and go again the next time. Yeah. Well, that's the go again thing, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you absolutely want to get back on the horse that threw you. Trying to read the black T-shirt behind something Bob said. I couldn't quite say, I can't quite make it out. But lots and lots of fans, lots of other team members as well. Yeah, like that guy wearing one of those race suits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hope the Chinese guys are okay, but yeah, I haven't seen and heard anything about them yet. Well, I think they'll be checking the ice as well, because it was a long way down from corner 5 all the way down. Track workers, as you see, having to mind the lights, and the cameras in the track as well. And down at the finish area, more fans. Lots of fans tend to watch the start of the first heat and then come down for the finish of the second. Of course, you can watch all the way down the track. Francesco Friedrich, our leader, from Johannes Lochner and Brad Hall. That's the podium at the moment. Adam Ammour looks a long way away, but as we've just seen, anything can happen in this sport. Frank Del Duca in 5th, ahead of Chris Horn for the USA. Then Mickey Vogt, Jin Su, Teimo Rona and Patrick Baumgartner. And the real loser in this heat has been Jekabs Kalenda. The Latvian was 10th overnight, down to 15th place. Now, we saw... His run wasn't super tidy, but I'm sure he's got some work to do on the next one. He definitely does have work to do. The problem when the sled is not running on its runners is that all sorts of bits stick out, and push handles and push bars and stuff, and tend to gouge the ice a little bit. So the track workers would just want to make sure that, particularly when you see long grooves like that coming down off the turn, what you don't want is a sled's runners to get sort of caught in it and tram line, so the sled then starts driving itself or is driven by the track. Yeah, and with the warm conditions too, you lose quite a bit of ice if something like that happens. Yeah, so especially here, you really want to make sure that the driver has control of the sled. I like how shiny those runners are. Yeah, and it's a good view of the runners there, because as you can see, they're not like ice skates with a square edge. They're rounded, so when they get sideways, although it does have a slowing effect, it doesn't cut the ice in the same. We talk about it cutting the ice, but it doesn't really make a mess of the ice in the same way that ice skates do on an ice rink. But there's different sizes of runners. Yep. The skinnier ones have more grip. That's for like fast days. Like -15 in Whistler, that's when you need the skinny ones. But the thicker ones are less time on the ice, so they're a little bit faster. Yeah, it's a little bit like slalom skis or trick skis. You know, the fatter they are, the more rotation you get. Yeah. And a bit like snowshoes, they spread the weight over slightly less hard ice. And it always seems to me to be not counterintuitive, but just, you know, really sketchy. If you get a day where the ice is -15 in Whistler, you've got high speed, rock hard ice, no grip, and you reduce the runner contact patch to the bare minimum possible. Yeah. So, which is great for speed, but for sure, and it's just terrifying. Everybody wants that top speed in Whistler, though. So got to do whatever you can to get that. Yes, absolutely. And in the bucket, the track workers have a mixture of snow and a little bit of water, so it's a little bit like plaster. put it on with the trowel, but it freezes into the holes. See, they're just looking at the grooves. Well, there are the Romanians. Georgeta Popescu there as well, helping out with the sleds. Youth Olympic champion in women's, in girls monobob. She's a monobob racer and a bobsleigh racer. Not in the women's bobsleigh race this weekend. Did race in the monobob last week though.
Yeah, it's not super cold with the weather conditions, so they're not too worried about their down bags. So rolling back to the top in their speed suits.
Yep. Yeah, whereas last weekend, couldn't get on the clothes quickly enough because
oh, yes.
It was very chilly. Well, they can see the crews waiting to go next in the blue suits from Czechia. Matej Behounek, Michal Dobesh, Antonin Vijas and Andre Rapp. And they're back in the changing room staying warm. Their teammates out on the deck. Right, we've done thumbs up, we've smiled, now what?
Yeah, sometimes the camera's on you for too long, you don't know what to do.
Well, if you spend a lot of time in the leader's box recovering from a run, then yeah, you have to start making stuff up.
But that's a great place to be, though.
Yeah, it definitely is. It either means that you've had a really blistering second run or you had a really shocking first one. Either way, time in the leader's box is better than walking away from the track with your head in your hands, definitely. Dominik Dvorak, closest to the camera, drove for Czech Republic in a couple of Olympics and had to retire at the end of the year a couple of seasons ago with injury.
Yeah, it's nice to see some retired drivers coming back and trying to pass that knowledge on.
Definitely.
I think Rudy Rinaldi is also here as well, trying to pass on everything he's got.
Yeah.
And of course, Justin Cripps, one of the best.
Lots of support for teams, and of course some of these fans will be here for this afternoon's race as well for women's bobsleigh. 2 heats completed yesterday with no major dramas, and Lara Nolte, the Olympic champion, leading after the first day of action. Now Nolte leading a German podium with her teammates Kim Kilicki, the 2023 world champion, in second place, and Lisa Buchwitz, the 2024 world champion, in third. So the podium has an Olympic champion and the last 2 world champions on it, which is a pretty good indicator of the fact that they didn't win any of those medals by chance.
Yeah, the women's race were very exciting yesterday to watch.
Yeah, and should be just as close. So
I think the Americans are also sitting just under them as well.
Yeah, we got 3 German sleds, then 3 US sleds. Alana Myers-Taylor was third after the first heat, dropped back to 6th position. So Keisha Love is currently in 4th ahead of Kaylee Humphries and Alana Myers-Taylor. We're chatting to Alana and to Lolo Jones yesterday after the runs. And Lolo was saying, oh, maybe I am too old for this stuff. And I said, hang on a minute. Look at Edson Bindilatti. And she said, why? I said, he's 47 and still going. You've got another quad in you. Oh.
Trying to convince her to stay.
Yeah, no, I'm just pushing her under the bus.
Yeah, I think as long as the body says otherwise, you know.
Well, and you know, that is one of the big discriminating factors in any sport is how long your body will go before it says no, because sometimes knees and shoulders and back and stuff decide long before the brain has that they've had enough. So
just show Pat Norton's babies on camera there.
So getting ready to go. We're in the 2-minute countdown. The 1-minute mark, the sled will be on ice, the crew will be there.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be after a crash, just waiting, because you're prepped, you're warm, ready to go, you're in the zone.
And it happens in training, and it happens in races, and sometimes it happens to somebody else. But of course, every sled now is sort of 10 minutes behind where they're expecting to be, so they all have to get their head back into it again.
I mean, you take that into account too as you warm up and do your prep, do your mind run before it's time to go, right?
I was sitting in the changing room during training the other day, and Frank Del Duca watching each of the runs, and like rehearsing the steers all the way down the track. And I said, I'm really interested. I don't often see people doing that in the dressing room. And he said, well, you know, you only get a handful of runs to rehearse it. So
that's right.
I thought
it does. It's happening a lot more than you think. We're all in there doing the mind runs, but you don't want to do too much because sometimes you do a little too much, you get stressed out. But you just got to do just enough, right? Yeah. Got to trust yourself. You know the program. Just go out there and do it.
Like everything else in life, try not to overthink it. All right, so getting back on with our program with our 19th sled in the field. Matej Behounek, Michael Dobesh, Antonin Vijas and Andre Rapp. Four-man World Championships here in Lake Placid. This is the third of 4 heats about to get back underway after a crash for Li Chunjan and the Chinese crew. They did not complete the run, so they will not go in the 4th and final heat. Let's see if Behounek has managed to clear his mind, because the speeds we're doing here, they need to be absolutely focused. 5:22 yesterday, 5:20 their start.
That's that tap out of 3 there, but doesn't seem to be a problem so far.
17th fastest start, 19th on the splits. Ooh!
Yeah, that early exit of corner 7 kind of got him a bit of trouble.
This is very lively for Matty. 15th best speeds. They have picked up a place over the Chinese, who crashed by that stage. 8th best speed. It's been a bit loosey-goosey, but it seems to be working.
That's the time to do it. It's the time to let it go.
Yeah. How close does he get to Mihai Tentea? Not very close. Yeah. Big sigh of relief from the coach. I'm not surprised. There was a couple of heart-in-the-mouth moments for everybody involved there. And again, Cyrus, as a driver, when it's starting to get a bit sketchy, it's not just you're thinking about.
Well, at that point, no, you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about the guys in the back. And
I've got to save it.
And you got to try everything you can to save it, because landing on your head is not as fun as being on 4 runners.
No. Yeah, you'd rather lose time than bounce the boys on their head or bounce yourself. I mean, that's where self-preservation comes in spades, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Behounek gets it down, a little bit sketchy, but he does. And our World Championship debutant, Jay Dearborn, next for Canada. Kenley Caterham Pindu, Cesar de Guzman, and Toby Ade behind him. Lyndon Rush in the white beanie, Justin Cripps in the grey on the back. Loads of knowledge. Oh! And Jay barely gets in. He's not got his hands on the D-rings. Luckily, corner 1 is a long way away and fairly benign. They make it through.
Yeah, gotta get in quick and get your hands on that D-rings. But yeah, seems to have a handle of it now.
Now that will have cost them time. The start officially was a 5:21. And again, they pick up a spot over the Chinese, so up to 19th on the splits. Now he was a 10th behind Behounek. Oh, but has a big skid into the chicane. Had 13th best speed going in. Probably doesn't coming out. Little wild all the way down, 56.70. But Behounek came down in 56.10, so that gap has opened up, but they made it down, and I'm not sure that Jay Dearborn thought that was going to be a successful run when he stumbled and couldn't get in, caught his knee on the cowl.
Yeah, it's a little bit terrifying when you get, as a driver, when you get caught up like that, but he seems to. He got back in and got the boys down.
Yep.
Yeah, a little drift out of the 14 into the chicane, but just trying to straighten it out before he goes into 17.
Lots of support for the Canadian team. Francesco Friedrich, Johannes Lochner, Brad Hall are the leaders after our first 20 sleds. So just outside the top 20, our next crew from the USA, Jeff Gabois, with Colin Storms, Adrian Adams and Dylan Gilbert. And the two brakemen, Colin Storms and Dylan Gilbert, making their World Championship debut. Adrian Adams in what is his 95th four-man race.
Yeah, a little bit of an unexpected run from Jeff yesterday, but hopefully we can get it in line today.
Yeah. Well, if he gets it down in one piece, they will move into the top 20 where they need to be for the final heat. And actually, he's got a 24/100ths of a second cushion over Suk Youngjin of Korea, who's the next sled behind, who might have been a threat. So if he gets this down clean, and they come off a 5:21 start, which is 300ths quicker than yesterday. 18th best velocity off the 19th fastest start, so it shows how well they've loaded.
Yeah, it's a clean looking run from Jeff so far.
Slightly strange noises from the sled. Quite sure what that is.
Yeah, TV doesn't do it justice when you're standing side track, just track side. It's very loud coming down.
Ahead of Jay Dearborn. So I think this is Jeff painting himself quite firmly into the top 20. He's going to pick up a couple of spots from his overnight 21st position. Across the line, 56.14. So 19th fastest run, moves up into 19th place ahead of Jay Dearborn. Dearborn now in 20th place and potentially in the drop zone. Depends what happens with the Koreans.
Yeah, I just really have to hold it off of 6. And I just stood nice and long with 7 there, but it doesn't matter how nice you come up, 7, 8, 9 is still always, always tough on the body.
Suk Youngjin of Korea with Lee Kyung-gyeon, Park Jong-hee and Jung Hyun-wo behind him. And Suk, as yesterday, having to sit in the sled. He's nursing an injury. So the boys behind 5.40. They started 5.41 in the first heat. And starting 2/10 off, Bobsleigh math says you should be at least 6/10 off at the bottom.
I mean, starting 5.40 with the guy sitting in and how heavy these four-men are, it's still very good.
Yeah, so you've got one fewer pusher and an extra 90-odd kilos in the sled as well.
Yeah.
21st best speed. Now they will pick up one place from the Chinese, and the real question is, how loose was Jay Dearborn's run? This is not a bad-looking drive. Still 21st on the splits. Jay Dearborn at the line, 3.63 back. He's not going to make it, is he, Suk? He's going to be just out, and that nudge on the short wall was the final nail in the coffin. 56.70. They won't be going in the fourth and final heat when we go 20 down to 1. Well, he's competed in the Worlds, and they had to give it a shot, injured or otherwise. And full respect to the boys for giving in as much of a start as they could.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tough for him to watch his boys, boys push him while he's sitting in.
Well, there's a few athletes have had to do that over the years. Mihai Tentea has done it perhaps more than anybody else I can think of in the last decade, where maybe half a dozen races he's been forced to sit in, which is one thing in four-man. Really tough when it's the two-man.
I think when it's the two-man, you got to try and push at least.
The brakeman's like legging it off the line, going, you want me to drive this as well? And our in fact, our final sled in this heat from Thailand. Kitamet Palakai is the 17-year-old driver. Pierpong Wong Piakul is our 45-year-old man at 2. He's a pilot for Thai Airways. Vorawat Madalem at 3, and Sitipon Dompriti, who was the two-man brakeman there in the centre on the back handles. That is the crew from Thailand. Their first time ever in the World Championships. Two-man and four-man in the monobob and in the women's bobsleigh. Just arriving here.
man, these guys have no fear at all. They just come in, hop in the four-man in Lake Placid. So big props to them.
Yeah. Now you can see, compared to the top teams that we're looking about, that the crew are all sitting quite upright. They haven't yet worked out how to get down into the sled. And that helps with two things. First of all, wind resistance. If there aren't heads in the airstream, then it helps your top speed, but also the weight distribution. The higher up you're sitting, the more the sled will whip side to side.
And like in a track like Placid, you want to be as low as possible too, because then you keep your body nice and tight. You don't bounce around quite as much.
Nice center of gravity. I was talking to Ammour yesterday. He got out of the sled after the first heat, really clutching his ribs.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, is that an impact with the wall? He said, no, cramp from trying to bend double. 57.93. Thailand are down and done. And there you saw in the coaches box, not their coaches, but their teammates who will be competing in the women's race later on today. So congratulations to the team. Congratulations to the Thai Federation for producing such a happy and enthusiastic bunch of athletes.
Yeah, they picked it up real quickly.
Yeah.
So it'd be awesome. Oh yeah. Trouble there trying to get his arm around.
Push bar didn't go back in, so the man at 3 is trying to whip it back in. And their driver as well, Youth Olympic Games 2024, he's in the World Championships 2025. He is still just 17.
Very excited.
What a rush. So, third of 4 heats successfully completed here in Lake Placid. 1 to go in the four-man World Championships. And Francesco Friedrich, hunting for his 7th four-man gold, is our race leader. So Friedrich with the advantage. Heading into the final run, he'll be the very last man to go, but he's got half a second over the battle for silver. Johannes Lochner and Brad Hall remain 200s apart. Adam Ammour in 4th, holding off the Americans, Frank Del Duca and Chris Horn. Then Mickey Vogt, Jin Su, Teimo Rona in 9th place, and Patrick Baumgartner in the top 10. Disappointing run sees Jekabs Kalenda drop from 10th to 15th, and it will be Jay Dearborn who goes off first. Suk of Korea and Palakai of Thailand will join the fans at trackside. There'll be no 4th run for Lee Chun-jan or for Reese Peters and their crews. So we will be back with the 4th and final heat shortly to decide our World Championship medals, and that will be at 11:45 local, 11:30 local, which is 9:30 local. 13:45 GMT. So we will be back with all the action then. See you in a minute.